Hi, my name is Eileen, and I'm here for my company Bega. And today I'm going to talk about therapy and productivity. You may or may not know that therapists, rehab therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, physical therapists work on a productivity system, uh, such as a factory worker. You need to make 10 shirts every hour, for instance. Well, a therapist is required to have a certain percentage of billable minutes in every workday. And it's quite high, 80, 90, 95. Medicare just made a change that allows groups, so a lot of companies want 95% and higher. A billable minute is the minutes of therapy that you're charging your patients. Okay, so they want you to have, say, 90% of all the minutes that you work in a day be charged for. And things such as, let's see, things that are not billable are walking between rooms, talking to a nurse. It's only billable if the patient is right there. So what I'm going to talk about today is what's wrong with that. All right, I'm going to put it very simple. When your therapist walks into your room and they're looking at you in the bed, what do you want to be in their head? Do you want them to be thinking, oh my goodness, Mrs. Smith was crying in the hall and I spent 5 minutes talking to her, so that's going to blow my productivity. I got to get going with this lady. Or do you want them to come in with an open mind and say, oh, Mrs. Jones had this stroke. Her arm doesn't look too good. Let's see, what can I do to get that arm going? I'm just saying, what mindset do you want that therapist to come in? Well, right now, let me tell you, they have the first one. The pressure to get your minutes, which is how we say it, get your minutes, is intense. If you don't hit your productivity too many times, you will be fired. They probably won't put on your paper that's why you're fired, although lately they're pretty bold about that, but that's why you'll be fired. Level of skill doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if those minutes they spend with you are good. All that matters is that you get them. Another thing that's really been pushed by these companies is something called point of service documentation. And that is why when you go to your therapist and they're working with you, or they come into your house, that they're sitting on the computer because they're point of service writing about you. Now, in my opinion, that's wrong. When they're with you, when a therapist was with you, they should be looking at your face, looking at you, having their hands on you, making you move around. You can sit there and watch someone on a computer all day long. You can do that when they're not there. You can do that on TV. That's the same exact thing when you're watching them on the computer. But that's your skilled time. That's time you pay for. And they should be interacting with you. The other problem I have with productivity, and it's the biggest problem, is that it's always, always on the therapist's mind. Always. You're always afraid. You're always fearful, because what happens is when you hit that, say 90%, they want you to go home. Okay? You don't have an 8-hour day, whether you're 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90%. When you hit 90, you got to go home. So let's say you mess up and you spend too much time with a person, and then you go back to the office and you're like, oh my gosh, you got to clock out and work on your own. But the point is, this fear, this concern, this agitation is always with you. And that agitation takes away from what you're doing for your patient. Back in the days of the dinosaurs, when I started, we didn't have that productivity problem. You went to work and you worked 8 hours. Whatever your scheduled day was, you knew you're going to be there. Your 6 hours, your 8 hours, whatever you arranged with your company. Some days you're super busy and you'd have a couple in a group, or you do this, or you just get through the day and see your patients and don't do your notes. Well, then the next day, maybe you're not so busy So you catch up on all your notes, you clean up the clinic, whatever it is you got to do. Spend some time checking on the patients that you let go before, whatever. Because you didn't have this agitation and fear in you. You're 8 hours. Hey, I'm 8 to 4. No matter what, I'm going to get my work done. That doesn't happen now. It doesn't happen. So what I see is oldsters like myself that have worked a lot of years to build up skills. Doesn't matter. It doesn't, none of that stuff matters. None of the things that I've learned in 30 years, or and my esteemed colleagues who have learned the same, that doesn't matter anymore. At my last job, I got a notice when I got there. Oh, you better keep your productivity up so I can have you still work here. Okay, it doesn't matter if I've helped Joe, helped Betty, or if I've just sat and typed next to them while they lay on the bed. None of that matters in therapy today. All that matters is you hit your number. Another very sad thing that I see lately is what it's like for new therapists. I work with a beautiful young girl at her first job at one of the places I go. Very sweet girl, shows a lot of promise. What does she say to me? Oh my goodness, I got to get my productivity up or they're going to fire me. Okay, she's been at the job 2 months. Is that really what she should be thinking? My first 3 years, I spent trying to learn skills so I don't look stupid in front of my patients and give them good service and actually help them get better. But see the difference? That's not on her mind. I know she cares about her patients and she wants to do the best and she does the best she can in those minutes that she has them. But that's not what's in her head. That's not in the front of her head. Caring about the patient has to be in the back of her head, because if she doesn't hit her productivity, she's not going to have a job. I find that very, very sad. Very sad. As an old therapist, I don't have any time to help her learn or help her show her maybe easier ways to transfer a person or ways to help an arm go or how to help a person get their pants on and on. None of that stuff. I don't have any time to teach her that because I have my own productivity agitation. And I feel like that's a very sad statement on our industry, that the focus is on productivity, which equals making money for the company rather than the mission, which is the mission is to help your patient. The mission should be first and foremost for us, the clinician. I understand that productivity from the company's perspective is a necessary evil. If we all sit around and don't bill anything, then they can't survive, and we don't have jobs, and we can't provide any service. I'm well aware of that. And back in the day, I used to be that person who says, they don't need the Cadillac wheelchair, maybe they just need the Ford wheelchair to be cost effective. But now cost effective is all there is. The mission is gone. So I saw recently there's a petition going around to get rid of productivity for therapists, and I support that. I understand it needs to exist, but that's for a bean counter. That's not for the therapist that comes in your room to help you. All right. That's my take on productivity and therapy. Thank you for listening.